idea. Try and answer. Does anyone have a question? I hope somebody does. It always adds a dimension to this meditation.
Stuart,
Yes,
I have a question.
Yes.
In the beginning of the class, it is reasonably possible for me to keep my mind a bit quiet. But as class evolves, it is getting more and more a challenge. And I also feel a strong pain in my back at the heart chakra. And my question is if I should or can do something about it, how to deal with it, how to see it.
Yes, that's a very good question, Luke, because what you asked is exactly what the class is all about. You know, the fact that you can, for a short period, keep your mind relatively quiet, it just means that you have to really develop inside yourself the foundation, the root, chakra, to have the strength, you know, to be able to keep your heart open and to allow the mind to be quiet. That voice inside you, that yakking in the mind, it is just telling you the work that you need to do on yourself in order to grow and develop a system that can keep the mind quiet. If you can keep your mind focused in the chakra below the navel, third chakra, you know, the Japanese call it the hara, the Chinese call it the tatien. If you keep your mind focused there, you know, that will quiet the mind. But it takes time, and it takes a lot of time to recondition yourself, because we're so used to spending all our time in our heads that we almost instantly go back to that. So it's literally a reconditioning of one's inner life, learning over time how to keep your attention focused in the chakra below the navel. That will, you know, open that chakra. It's like a surgical instrument of mine that will open that chakra, and it'll tap chi, that power, you know, of rootedness that's inside a human being. And that takes training. It takes time. It's not a thing that happens in a couple of classes. In fact, the fact that the mind will go, you know, like, it's just a reminder, I got to work on myself. You know, when I first sat down to do this meditation, I couldn't sit for 3 minutes without my mind going crazy. I mean that. And as I kept working at it and sitting with my teacher, Rudy, and working at it and sitting with my teacher, Rudy, suddenly it was 5 minutes and 10 minutes and 15, and then it was a half hour, because I developed and conditioned myself to truly to be able to do that. Now, Rudy always told me chakras are like psychic muscles. And I believe that also. They are psychic muscles. And if you don't, you know, work your physical muscles, they're going to atrophy. If you don't work the chakra system, that psychic muscle system, it's going to atrophy. So using the mind, using the breath, using your need to have a spiritual life, using the will to do it, the all-important will, you know, to overcome the obstacles inside ourselves, it helps build that kind of system inside. That eventually it's not 3 minutes, it's 20 minutes. Then it's a half hour. Then you can sit 2 hours with a relative, and then you can live your whole day with a relatively quiet mind. And that is the goal, to build that kind of an inner life that allows a person to do this. And I'm not talking about intellectual knowledge, you know? I mean, you could read about maybe this in book, or you could read about it in my books, you know? I don't know how many other books are written about this, but it's not intellectual knowledge. It's an organic evolution of one's consciousness into living that way. You know, and then it's real. It's not just something that you memorize in the brain. Well, I should have it. You organically grow into it. It becomes part of your inner development, and then it becomes permanent. It's not a thing that you think about or you know you're supposed. It becomes a permanent way of living. So what you're experiencing, Luke, is not a negative thing. It's your system telling you, you got work to do on this. That's all it is.
So I just got to keep on working.
You have to keep building,
all the time.
You have to keep
and trust the process.
Trust the process and do your inner work.
Yeah.
Try to keep your attention focused. When you, I mean, I'm not saying you got to sit and meditate all day. You know, that's not what this is about. But when you do meditate, when you come to these classes, when you sit on your own, you work on yourself and you practice using the mind to develop the third chakra. That's the first thing that my teacher ever taught me. First thing is what he taught me. And it made so much sense to me because everything in life, every tree has roots, every plant has roots. Every, every whatever, every building has a foundation. It's only people that spend all their time in their heads. There's no rootedness, there's no foundation. It's all thinking and analyzing and figuring out, and it drives everybody crazy. So we need to learn that, and the meditation is about learning that. That's what this is about. It's learning how to do this. And once you have the foundation, then the heart can open. And it can stay open because it's grounded. It has foundation. It has a stem and it has roots and and it can stay open. And this is just a process of slowly building that kind of an inner life. It doesn't happen in a day or two. It happens gradually over time as something that organically develops inside us, and we live that way. I mean,
yes, I realize I have work on my mental aspects, but also on the bottom chakras, because that's where I have to work. That's how I understand it now.
And that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, look, I have 3 classes a week here. It's 3 hours a week that you sit and do this. And then you take a half hour and you sit down at home and you set up a little altar and you do your inner work. And it's not fanatical, this thing. And I can tell you truly, when I started this thing, there was nobody sitting here that was crazy than I was. And I mean that. My mind never shut up. I just had so much tension and so much anxiety and fear, and gradually the whole thing reversed. It all reversed. It didn't reverse in 2 weeks. It took time. It's like the bouquet of a bottle of wine, it's got to sit for a few years to get that delicious bouquet, I mean, I'll say it again. I've said it a million times. My teacher, Rudy, said it better than anyone I ever heard. He said it takes 9 months to have a baby. It takes 1 second to die.
Yeah.
People are leaving and coming back. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
You have to mellow into it over time. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And developing what I'm talking about doesn't mean that you don't use your mind to deal with situations that required a certain kind of logistics and rational way of functioning. We have to use our minds. You know, life requires it. But what it means also is we're so grounded inside that our whole life isn't drained out of us when we use our minds that way. It becomes just a piece of the puzzle. That, you know, they say, give to Caesar what Caesar's, give to God what's God. Caesar requires some part of us has to have a rational way of functioning in order to deal with this world that we live in. But it's not the entire picture. It is a piece of us that we can use that way. And the life doesn't drain us because everything is in the mind and everything is going out there. So I'm not anti-mind. I'm very pro-mind, you know, and it's got to be used consciously. The energy of mind, its ultimate purpose is to build a chakra system in a human being. And then you have all these little departments of mind that we need to use in life, you know, in order to survive in this world and live in this world, you know. And as the chakra system develops, as the third chakra develops in a human being, understand our capacity to make decisions becomes much better. Our capacity to respond to life and to deal with life consciously becomes much better. You know, we develop the ability to sense exactly what is going on around us, not to be intimidated by it, to stay centered, and to allow it to be our teacher, what we have to do to grow. I mean, I spent, 25, 30 years in business, I was in the art business. And one of the greatest things about doing that was learning how to function in the moment amongst very crazy situations sometimes, without allowing those situations to take my life away. And that all had to do with the development of the third chakra that enabled me to do that and function that way in a material world. I had to pay rent, I had this, I was supporting an ashram, it was costing me a fortune every month. I had to live in the material world, but I couldn't allow it to drain me of my life. So it kept telling me, build the third chakra, get your heart open, get your mind. We will provide the energy. The universe will provide the energy to do that without allowing it to destroy you. Does anyone else have a question you would like to? And, this is a fabulous thing to learn, because this is the kind of thing that allows a human being to live here and be a happy person. You're not intimidated by all, if you pardon my Bronxese, all the bullshit that goes on in this world. Does anyone else have a question? Good question. What a lot of good things. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, I just have one announcement to make. I have a new project I've been working on, which is a blog, and I think it's a very funny word to write things under, but I have it on my website, and every Sunday, Bob Sink is posting, short things that I write that are kind of interesting and might help you in understanding this work a little bit more deeply. And you can go there. You can go to my website and see. I just wrote one today, which is a little longer, but I think really interesting. And it's there. And I started this a couple of weeks ago. You know, I started it anew. I think I did it a few years ago, and then now we're going to be posting something every Sunday. And you can go there, read it. Then you have all these videos. There must be 500 of them now, of these videos of, you know, these talks that I give. You can go to Facebook and YouTube, and, you know, and each one of them is maybe maximum 10 minutes long. So all of this is available as reference, and, you know, and also there's a lot of Shakti in it, and you can get Shakti from these videos, from the things I've written. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, well, again, thank you. God bless you all. You know, I keep telling you all, you know, I come because I learn here. And I have incredible respect for every person that's here. All of you are my teacher. Your presence is forcing me to go very deep inside myself. And I have nothing but gratitude for this hour that we spent together, you know, and what goes on here. So God bless you all, and thank you. And there'll be a class on Sunday, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Good afternoon. Good night, wherever you are.